Look, I can explain in the comments. Let's get to this damn video. When it comes to the Dark Triad, Zenon Zagras is probably the most interesting and probably the most powerful one of the group. There's Noelle, who defeated one of Zenon's siblings, Ivanica Zagradis, and defeated the Devil Queen of Curses, Magicula. Knowing that both of these two are widely loved in the fandom, why don't we see who can win in a death battle? Noelle versus Zenon at different points of the series, except the Elf arc, because I think we know who's going to win that. Can Noelle reign supreme against Zenon Zagras, or will Zenon show that absolute power means everything and defeat her? Right off the bat, we're going to take Noelle when she fought Ivanica first in the Spade arc, and then we're going to take Zenon when he fought the Golden Dawn and captured Yami. Zenon's going to be first since he's going to be the one that's pulling up on Noelle, so we're going to have that. Dark Triad should be equal to each other due to Nox's statement saying that they're all should be equal, and that should include Zenon. But if you want to be weird and say that Zenon should be a little bit stronger, since Lucius did say that Zenon had a better aptitude to being a devil host than Ivanica and Dante, then go right ahead. This is your ballpark. This Zenon should be way stronger than Zagred, either in base or 80%, but I preferably say base, because in stage 0, that means you could beat a devil stronger than Zagred, and those Dark Disciples, 40% or 50%, they're all stage 0. And that means they should be either on the level of Zagred or be able to beat him. Yes, it sounds insane. Zenon also has bone magic and has spatial magic from his devil Beelzebub. And he can also use Beelzebub's magic to create a spatial domination. With spatial domination, he can trap other opponents, control the mana inside it, unless you are blessed by mana like have the same mana as him, or a spatial mage with mana zone. His best feats in this arc were able to beat the Golden Dawn and beat William Vengeance, even though William was taking care of his other squad mates and beating Just like Dante, he can go to 80% devil power, but again, him, Ivanica, and Dante should all be equal to each other. So with that being said, let's just get right into Noelle scaling. The main problem with Noelle is that she needs Lower Chica if she's going to use the mermaid form. Obviously, it is going to be a 1v1. They cannot have Lower Chica in there and helping Noelle. So what we're going to do is use Noelle when she was basically injured and fighting Ivanica and low on magic. The thing about this Noelle is that she doesn't really have good feats when she's healthy, but when she was basically on the verge of losing, she was able to basically block the blood piercings and move it to her armor pieces and basically reflecting off of that, so it would just destroy her armor, which is pretty smart and a good speed feat for her, making her at least relative to at least 70% Ivanica. Even though I do think Ivanica was kind of playing with her. But it is possible to get stronger in the course of a fight in Black Clover by, looking at the Elf arc or the whole Elf saga. There's multiple characters who got stronger in the course of one fight. Noelle being able to damage a 70% suppressed Ivanica should put her at least below 70% Ivanica, but below the other Dark Triad. But if you want to say that Noelle was going all out, and so was Ivanica, then you could put her at the ballpark range of the Dark Triad. But I truly believe that Ivanica was holding back and was messing with Noelle. The crazy thing is, Ivanica didn't even consider this Noelle as weak, a suppressed and injured Noelle weak. She even told her that she acknowledged her strength and she wanted to fight her again. We know that Ivanica is very weird about fighting people and she has a fetish for it, so she would probably know when somebody is very weak in her eyes. So if these two were to come to blows, base to base, mano-y-mano in the start of the Spade arc, Zenon wins 10 times out of 10. The Dark Triad in their base forms are no joke. Ivanica was able to one-shot her 50% Dark Disciple, so Zenon should scale to that. And not only that, Dante was able to dodge and weave Asta, and Zenon was able to combat in his base form and only went to 55% because he thought it would be cool. Even if Noelle got into her Valkyrie dress, what would that do? Zenon in his base could be enough to defeat her, but if he's feeling generous, he could just go 80% or even 60% and trap her in spatial domination, where her mana cannot really function that well because he has control of it. All I see Zenon doing is using spatial domination, basically disrupting Noelle's mana. She can't really get her spells off, and Zenon blitzes her and cuts her head off with his bone sword. That's really how I see it going. But obviously, there are 2 more rounds where Noelle could possibly take these matchups, so let's get right into the second one. So this one should be in Noelle's favor. This fight is more self-explanatory because I feel like this fight is a one-sided stomp, but I will explain who stomps, but I will go over Noelle first again. After Noelle lost to Ivanica, she went back into the kitchen and started to cook up a new transformation, being Saint Stage, being a fusion between her and Undine. And while this was going on, the Dark Triad achieved 100% of their devil forms, and they achieved the level of a Supreme Devil, being Nilith and Nama, which means separate, the twin devils should be on the ballpark as the 100% Dark Triad, but when they're fused together, they should at least be above the Dark Triad by 2 times. And by the time Noelle enters the arc and decides to fight Ivanica for a rematch, let's just say she beats the shit out of Vonica. She's able to blitz her, destroy her, even tank some of her attacks, and Vonica, in just merely 30 seconds, is reduced to a naked peel of ash. Zenon doesn't even have concrete scaling above 100%, so this 100% Zenon doesn't really stand a chance against Noelle. You could say that he's a bit more durable than Vonica, but that wouldn't really matter because Noelle would just blitz him and start beating him down and beat him out of the 100% form. So if you want to make an argument that he's a little bit stronger than Vonica, go ahead, he still loses. Zenon could also try to trap her in a subspace, but the problem is she would be way stronger than him and she would just blitz right through it. So she would just be dodging and weaving him. So it doesn't really matter if he tried to trap her, he wouldn't even get her and he would get blitzed and one-shotted most likely. Luckily for Zenon, this isn't his final form. Zenon's final form is when he gives up his soul to Beelzebub and becomes a devil incarnate. This Zenon is heaven and earth compared to the 100% Zenon that we saw. This Zenon is way more powerful than the 100% Triad. Zenon then fights Yuno at his best and when Yuno has Saint Stage. Yes, I know that Yuno basically beat Zenon when he had Saint Stage at the last second, but I truly believe that Zenon would have won this fight if Yuno didn't get Saint Stage at that last second. And yes, I do think that this Yuno is stronger than the one that fought Lucifero, but let me explain. Comparing the size of Spirit of Zephyr, you can see in the Lucifero fight, Yuno's sword is way less bigger than the one he had on Zenon, because Yuno didn't have Saint Stage against Lucifero. Now obviously I'm not making the argument that Zenon would have murdered Lucifero, I'm just saying that this Yuno is weaker than the Yuno that fought Zenon, and it's very true. This Yuno went all out against Zenon. He even needed Bell to charge up everything against this Zenon. Not saying that Lucifero is weaker, it's just this is a weaker Yuno. This Zenon should also be stronger than the fused Twin Devils, and we need to start thinking that these guys aren't as strong as we think they are. Now, honestly, if you know, you know, and if you still don't know, get the fuck out. One thing about Devil Heart Zenon that I find very difficult is the Devil Heart Amp. Some people tell me that it's a 30 times multiplier, other people tell me that it's a 100 times multiplier, and it's very difficult to range that. So right now I'm just going to say it's between 30 and 100 times because I want to be generous. I really wish Tabak could just drop a data book and just tell us how strong the Devil Heart Amp gets you, because in my opinion it should be a lot, like a lot. For Magicla, it's way easier for me to say that she's way above 100% just like Devil Heart Zenon, but how much by that? Now, we know the Magicula can easily negate Charlotte's curse negating magic. Magicula imbued basically a fraction of her power into these Dark Disciples that went from base Vonica to 100% Vonica, or near that level. Now, we know Rill and Charlotte were getting their asses whooped by 100% Vonica, but they weren't getting one-shotted. So let's just say they're around the ballpark. With Twilight Valhalla, they should close the gap, either being a little bit weaker or as strong as 100% Vonica. Main problem with this, if this is the case, Magicla would be 100 times stronger than 100% Dark Triad, but the problem with this is Noelle's scaling. Noelle could barely beat a suppressed Magicula, needed everyone's help, and not only that, she'd even get the final blow until Noelle got in, which I will get into. Now, in the character data books in the Spade arc, it says that Noelle basically was able to repel Magicula, and his attacks were so fast and so good that she couldn't even regenerate. And we know you must scale to a devil if you want to damage them, but if you're Long or Sinfinral, you can negate that and even slice them in half. It doesn't really matter if Noelle was amped by Twilight of Valhalla or not, because in this next feat against Lucifero, this basically gives Zenon the win. In the battle against Lucifero and the captains, all the captains are getting amped by Twilight of Valhalla, and Noelle goes up against Lucifero, and he gets ragdolled. And you know who isn't even at his strongest, because his strongest is against Zenon, he's able to put up a good fight against Lucifero, isn't getting one-shotted, and not only that, I'm not saying that he's going to cut off Lucifero's head, no, but he's just doing way better than Noelle. And what I mentioned previously, this Devil Heart Zenon should be stronger than the Lucifero fight Yuno, and that would mean we could get right into the fight. The thing about Noelle is she only really has a certain amount of time before her Saint Stage deactivates. And not only that, she needed everything to go right to beat Magicula. She needed multiple people's help, but she will not have that in this fight. So let's just say she only has 60 seconds on the timer with her Saint Stage. Zenon would immediately go on the offensive and the defensive and trap her in a subspace. Noelle wouldn't really have anything to combat being trapped in a subspace, so she would just have to get completely boned. Pause. For the sake of her not getting one-shot, because I don't think she would, let's just say she survives it, and Zenon decides to say, you know what, it's time to stop playing around, and he decides to use Bone X spatial magic, Dianzo Elf Sword. Now, if Zenon wants to be petty, he could trap her and him in a subspace and just completely slash at her and just distort the space around them and injuring Noelle very badly until her transformation runs out, where Zenon could just decapitate her head. I just don't really see a scenario where Noelle actually just kills Zenon. The only way that she does is if she gets a head start and Zenon just doesn't move and you just plug a controller behind him and you just leave it alone for the rest of the day. Maybe she wins, but if we're going in character, she does not win, and Zenon probably just decapitates her head the moment her transformation runs out, or he just kills her when she's in that transformation. And even if we gave Noelle unlimited Saint stage, I don't see her possibly overcoming Zenon's absolute power and coming out of his spatial domination. If you did enjoy this video and want to see more Black Clover versus battles, comment down below and subscribe if you do like what I do here. You definitely check out the Twin Devils versus Yuno video, which is definitely a good watch if you are feeling bored and want to see who actually wins that fight. But it's been a good one. If you made it this far, thank you very much, and I'll see you guys in the next video.